keeping you informed. This is In.form on WBDC and 18 WJTS.
Welcome to another edition of In.form here on 101 Country WBDC and 18 WJTS. I'm Kaitlyn Neukam, and it is a pleasure to have you with us today. And it's time to talk once again about Purdue Extension Dubois County, but we have a new face, new voice in the studio with us today, Mr. Kenny Eck. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, Kaitlyn. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite all right myself. So, Kenny, we're going to talk about a handful of things and whatnot. We're going to kind of dig into what you do at Purdue Extension Dubois County, and specifically, we're going to have a topic of discussion to talk about today. But before we get into that, will you tell us a little bit about what you do at Purdue Extension, since, you're a newer voice face? Maybe we haven't seen you in a while, and people want to know what you're up to over there.
Yeah. So we work with a lot with farm issues. I'm the ag and natural resource person over there. Purdue's been around since about 1917 here in the county as a department. And what we do is we try to address some of the community issues that we have. I work on the park board, take care of the park out there. And people bring in issues that they have with their homes, their farms, gardens, things like that. That's one of the things we'll be talking about today is kind of lawn care to help get people through the summer season.
Right. So, summer is not exactly over yet, although the kids are back to school. It doesn't exactly mean that, it's time to, neglect the garden, because the grass still grows out there, according to my dad, who likes mow the lawn way too much. So what do we need to know about summertime lawn care that you want to share with us today?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about two things. One, summer care, and then fall care, because what you do in the fall gets your lawn ready for next summer. Right now, a lot of lawns we see around Dubois County have either bluegrass or they have tall type fescue. And the bluegrass, a lot of times you'll see the brown lawns because that goes dormant when it's really warm out. So this time of year, you really shouldn't be doing too much with your lawn as far as trying to put things onto it, like herbicides to kill the weeds or fertilizers. So you might see your grass going dormant if you've got turf type fescue. That's kind of like, it's a relative of the fescue you see in the farmer's field. It's going to be growing nice and green. But again, right now it's really hot out there. It's stressful. You don't want to do a lot of extra work when you're hot and sweaty. Your lawn really doesn't either. So we don't mess with it too much. Instead, go out there and mow it a little bit longer. You should always mow your lawn about 3 inches high. That's to protect it against weeds getting through, because you've got a nice, thick layer of grass out there, so it can't come through when it gets warmer like now. But leave the clippings behind. Mow it maybe 3.5 inches. Whatever you see above the ground for your lawn, leaf blade wise, is how deep the roots go. So if you're worried about it being drought resistant for like this time of year, leaving a little bit taller means the roots can go down deeper, get the water or the moisture in the soil, and maybe you don't need to water the lawn as much. Your lawn will need about 1 inch of water a week. So if you've got trees, you might need about 1.5. If you've got a lawn that has large maple trees or something like that, they're going to suck up a little bit more moisture out there. So if you think you've got a small yard somewhere like in Jasper or Huntingburg or Ferdinand, and you're concerned about it, you might need to go out and water it. If you do water it when you're out there, water deeply but infrequently. The worst thing you can do for your lawn is be the little old retired guy that has nothing to do but go out at 5 o'clock in the morning and he puts on about 5 minutes worth of water, and what happens is your lawn is so pampered basically that it doesn't put down deep roots. So when he takes off for Florida to visit the grandkids, that's the week when the drought hits in, and because the roots have been watered every day for just a little bit, they're very shallow and they don't do what they need to do when he's out on vacation. So water it very, very deeply, or we'll put a lot of water on, but then leave it so it doesn't know when it's going to be watered, and it'll put roots down deeper to help you out through the whole summer. So that's kind of tips for the summer. Kind of leave it alone, mow it higher, water if you have to. Now, we do have a lot of complaints about weeds, things like that. So I'm going to talk about the fall when we're talking about getting the lawn ready for basically summer of 2026. So the things we're thinking about doing in the fall when it's a little bit nicer is to go through and fertilize it, do your weed control, and then do seeding if you have areas that need to be fixed. So first I'll start off with the fertilizer. What I'd recommend doing is maybe going out there and doing a soil test. A soil test is basically a small bag. You can come into our office. There's other places you can go to. But you come in our office, pick it up. I think it's like about $20 at a commercial laboratory. You get good results back. And they'll tell you three things. One, what do you have out there, which I'm a trained soil scientist, and I have to look up things in books, so I don't really use those numbers. But the second thing to tell us is, what do you need to put on per 1,000 square feet? So you're going to be putting on the fertilizer amount. You're not wasting money or time if you don't need fertilizer. And then the final thing is they have little charts and graphs to show if you're high, low, or whatever. So come in there. You can get it from our office out at, it's right across from the old football stadium here in Jasper. Door number 4 in the back it's the old 5th Street School building, and we can give you a packet to take home and do the soil testing. So when you do fertilize, I recommend fertilizing separate. Don't do weed and feed. Just like you don't want to take your medication and your steak at the restaurant all at the same time. You want to maybe do it separate. We need you to go out there and fertilize the correct amounts based on your soil test, and also put on the correct weed killer that is for the weeds you have out there. So sometimes you get that bag that has a very generic weed control program in it and a very generic fertilizer program that maybe isn't what you specifically need. So you're maybe wasting money on one or the other. Use a good spreader. You can do either a drop spreader where it drops straight down, or a slinger where you throw it across the lawn. Just make sure you overlap. For when we're fertilizing, we want to keep the lawn really healthy out there. And the biggest thing for your lawn, because it's leafy green things, is putting nitrogen on. You want fertilizer that has numbers something like 2205, which means the first one is nitrogen, so it's going to be about 22% nitrogen. That's what we want on our lawn. Do it about 3 times a year. Put on about 1 pound of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet in September, late September. Do it again, 1.25 pounds of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet in late October to November, and then do it in the spring again, about another pound of nitrogen from about May 15th to June the 1st. So that's a good fertilizer program. You got the green stuff there. It needs nitrogen certain times of the year, and then you do the soil test to see what else is needed. Weed control, basically you need to go out and figure out what weeds you need. If you need help, sometimes our office can help you with that, or just get a book out or Google things online. There's a lot of great apps you can use to identify all kind of weeds in your garden or your lawn. But for the most part, most people try to control broadleaf weeds like clovers, dandelions, things like that. So first, identify them so you know what products to use, and then make sure that your weed is identified on the lawn herbicide to be controlled. If it's not controlled, then you're kind of wasting money again in product, and we're concerned about the environment. Then there's also grass weeds out there. A lot of those are kind of tricky to control. Crabgrass is what we see this time of year. And if you have crabgrass now, you're pretty well stuck with it until the first frost when it'll die out. It's an annual. You control it about April the 1st. So on April 1st, 2026, you should be putting down crabgrass prevention herbicides. And what that does is any new seed will not be able to get through the barrier of herbicide. We have to be careful if you're putting on new grass seed. You need to do that in the fall, so next spring it will also not come up if you're putting it on when you're putting on the crabgrass control. It'll stop all the weeds from coming up, especially the grass weeds. So control that in April. There's some things you can do after it comes up, maybe late spring, but by July 1st, you're pretty well out of luck. So work with that later on. If you have other things, you might have other invasive species come through their grasses. You might need to go out there, and you're kind of limited, but maybe use something like a Roundup or a glyphosate to kill the whole area, and then come in and reseed. If you do have bare spots to go out and try to get established, you need to get those done in the fall, like about September, maybe early October. So those little seedlings can come up, get to be strong, and then they can kind of shade out any annuals you have coming up next year. Use the same species you already have, either bluegrass or turf-type fescue. Blend it in. Rent a lawn seeder. It's a power slitter. You can get those from a lot of the rental stores here in Dubois County. It'll put it in the ground very nicely. You need seed-to-soil contact. You don't want to throw it on top of the ground. The birds might eat it. Mice might eat it. Put on a high rate. Or you can also rake it in if you have a very small patch, but you need to get it in the soil, in the dirt, so it can take off. Again, you can't use crabgrass control if you have new seedlings out there. It's just not going to come up. It won't make it through that barrier that you're using to control your crabgrass. The final thing I'll kind of hit on, Kaitlyn, is for seeding rates. If you're reseeding like Kentucky bluegrass, you need about 1.5 to 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet. I'd seed a little bit heavier, so say 2 pounds. Some people like a mix of half bluegrass, half fine fescue, so that'd be 4 to 5 pounds. Or if you're doing turf type tall fescue, which is kind of catching on here in the county, it would be up to 6 to 9 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So a lot of things to think about there. One other thing people talk about is we have roots in our yard. What do we do about it? I've got a maple tree in my front yard. Those roots are trying to get enough air to survive. We like to have about half air, half water in the ground. You don't want it too dry, then it dies out from drought stress. If it's too wet in the low areas, then the tree dies from basically drowning out. Those tree roots are trying to push up, especially maple trees and some of the ones we use for landscaping, and there's not much you can do about it. I've put soil out there, but just like if I was pushing a drowning man under the water, he's going to try to bob back up to the surface. And those roots know they need to keep growing, just like the rings on a tree. They're going to get bigger, and they're going to try to push back up to the surface because they want a little air in there with the ground, which we have heavy clay soil, so it's kind of wet sometimes, and those roots are going to keep doing that. So you're kind of stuck with your roots. People call in about that every so often, and just not a lot you can do about it. So with that, that's some basic things for this summer, and going into fall, we can look at, Kaitlyn, for lawn care. If you are interested, there's a lot of publications that Purdue Extension has. I'm not going to go through the websites and all that, but just go to your favorite search engine like Google and put in Purdue Extension, those words to get Indiana conditions, and then crabgrass or establishing a new lawn or something like that, whatever your topic might be as far as lawn care or other things in your landscaping or vegetable gardening too. And there'll be something pop up that can help you kind of go through and get more specific information for what you're working with.
That is a lot of information and a lot of knowledge. But Kenny, I never knew that the tree roots that you saw, they actually need air just as much as they need to, be in the ground and get water. So that's something to really think about too, because I think as landowners here in the area, they think of it more as a eyesore or something that tears up the mower blades when you go over them. But it is for a purpose. And again, I will also highlight the idea of using some type of identification tool. My favorite at the moment has been Google Lens. So I look up a weed, I look up a flower. If I don't know what it is, then you can quickly identify it, because knowing what you have to treat is something really important too. And with everything that you were kind of discussing here today, how does knowing what you're treating come into play? Because again, you were highlighting again on how important it is to know how to treat properly. But what if someone misidentifies something or whatnot? How does the identification process really make the difference in maintaining your lawn?
Yeah, it is key. Like if you have crabgrass out there, you can't use something you'll be using to kill clover or to kill the dandelion. It's not going to work. It's not going to have the same chemical systems in it that the herbicide is going to try to block to kill it. There are some things like glyphosates and other products out there that will kill everything out there. So if that works for you, that's fine. But then you have to come back and reestablish your lawn, because your lawn's going to be there. In the garden, if you kill it this year, you're going to replant next spring anyway, so it doesn't matter so much. But in your lawn, you're trying to keep the neighbors from looking over and shaking their heads during that Sunday drive, which we have sometimes. I've seen that over the years. So you need to know what it is. And then you want to make sure if you're going to buy a product that you buy the correct product, so you're not wasting time. You're not putting a chemical out there you don't want to have getting in the environment anyway, so you use it strategically. But by identifying it, so it's going to knock it out as quickly as possible and at the right rate, so you don't have to put on more or too little so it doesn't work, you can kind of do a better job at controlling things. Right,
and you bring up the topic of product, which is my next consumer question that I catch myself asking anytime I'm looking for something like this. Do you have to buy the most expensive product to get it to work? What are the kind of things you're looking for an effective way to treat your lawn?
Well, the main thing, like you mentioned, is identifying it and then making sure it's on the label. And the label is literally it's a legal document when you buy any product. And that's not just for that. There's other household cleaners and stuff, too. If you see a label on there, that is where they are giving you, first of all, the instructions, but also it's a legal document that if you do something wrong and you come to them and complain about it, I put too much of chemical XYZ on the garden, and this died, or it leaked onto a neighbor's property, When you do use any type of pesticide, be it for insect, fungus control, weed control, if you don't use it correctly and it gets out of control, you're legally responsible for it, and you can have fines against you by the Office of the Indiana State Chemist. But again, you're trying to make sure it works effectively, not trying to scare the people from using things. I don't use them any more than I have to. Sometimes I'll let the bugs or whatever take over a part of the garden because I just can't eat all those zucchini this time of year or the sweet corn or whatever. But do follow the label because it's going to tell you how to effectively control your problem, knock it out. And sometimes a weed will take a couple of applications of herbicide. When we're talking about annuals that have just little seeds and they pop up, they're made to go through, have lots of seed for next year. That's the way they've functioned in nature. If you get into things like a dandelion, those big starchy roots are going to be under the ground, and they're going to use that as a backup system to get through the winter. That's why they sometimes come back, but also to get through whatever herbicide you throw at them. So you'll kill the top of the plant. Those perennials, which means they come back year after year, use the starch under the ground to kind of like a backup battery. If the hospital had the lights go out, they'd turn on the backup batteries and they'd be able to take care of the patients. Your dandelion's going to use that starch to restart the green growth, start making more sugars, and start regrowing again. So you might need to hit it 1 or 2 times. A really good time, too, to do weed control is in the fall because those starches and roots or things on some of those perennials, which means they come back year after year, are being used to get them through the winter. They die off at the top in the winter. So if you hit them with a herbicide, they have to use up all the starch in the roots to pop up again for the fall, and then there's nothing left to get them through the winter. So that's a good strategic time to use it. Kind of, you can call it cultural or however you want to do that. But so late fall is a good time to hit the weeds before the first frost comes when they're dying anyway, and then you're kind of giving them a double whammy for the same cost at the local store then.
I mean, it sounds like a very strategic plan for those stubborn weeds because, you know, a lot of proud landowners here in the area, again, they take pride in, you know, maintaining that, and that one weed that comes up and just does not stop. It's the thing that bothers them the most.
Yes.
Kenny, as well, you know, we've got a lot of people in the area that have pets that go in and outdoors a lot of times. So when they're planning for this strategic move to have the prevention of weeds and whatnot, is there, you know, just maybe use some extra sense and, you know, maybe not let the animals out for a few hours? Or what have you kind of encountered with that kind of thing when it involves animals coming into the yards?
No, that's a great question, Kaitlyn. What I'd recommend is look at that label. A lot of labels will tell you when, not just your pets, but also your kids, your grandkids. They will have exclusion times on some of the products that will say, fine to go out there and play right away after 2 hours. Or in other cases, they'll say, stay off this for a week. In that case, what you might do is maybe apply in the front yard, take the family and the pets and whatever else might be going on out there activity-wise to the backyard, and then vice versa. Switch it to the backyard a little bit later, or do it when you're getting ready to go on family vacation or something like that. But no, that's a very good question, too. For safety reasons, you need to read the label yet again and see what the exclusion time might be. And it varies from product to product. Some products will also say you can't do it before a rainstorm because it's going to be washed off. Others will say after 2 hours, this product is bound to the plant or it's safely in the ground and it'll start decaying or whatever it might be. A lot of the products we have nowadays are much safer than they used to be simply because there have been lawsuits, there have been concerns out there with the environment, but it also means a lot of these products will not be around for a very long time. So in most cases, like for the example, for the crabgrass preventative treatment stuff, it might be good for 2 weeks, and then you maybe need to reapply. If you have some of the heavy rainfall we have sometimes in the spring, that's going to maybe knock it down to a week because it's literally washing it through the ground. It's deactivating stuff that we don't want to have permanently in our environment. So you may, again, have to read the instructions, but if it rains a lot, think we might have to apply more frequently. If it's not raining so much, then maybe we're fine and won't need to. We'll just do it every 2 weeks or so, or whatever the label says to do. And that's the important thing, is look at the application instructions on your label.
Cannot stress that enough. It's on there for a reason, so make sure to get your readers out, or have someone else read it and make sure that you know the lay of the chemicals and the different fertilizers and stuff that you're using, because it never hurts to take a minute beforehand and just take a minute to read. Kenny, is there anything else you want to make sure to mention while you're with us today?
Oh, again, if you have concerns, you can always give us a call at the Purdue Extension office. We'll try to help you out. If we can't do it, we also have an option where Purdue has a plant and disease diagnostic lab on campus. It's where all the professors that are literally the ones teaching the classes and training the lawn care professionals, they go through and take care of these. I think it's like $11.95 fee. And if it's a disease or something, we automatically send it up there because they have to go through and do all kind of culturing and things to figure out what's wrong with your tomato plants or your corn or something like that. Some things we can handle, or if we've already had 10 people send in the same sample and results came back, we know this is sweeping through the county and we just need to treat it. So a lot of good things can also be done at some of the lawn and garden centers we have here, especially the smaller mom and pop type ones we'll talk about. They kind of know the local products that work well with some local conditions, and they can help you out as well as our office can too. So.
Very good. Well, Kenny, we appreciate your extensive extension knowledge today. Again, something that this was a different conversation for myself, so I even got to learn something a little bit new. So hopefully someone out there also got to learn something a little bit different so that their strategy in lawn care this summer going into this fall is a new tactic. But we appreciate your time today. And
thanks for having me.
And again, we'll remind everyone you can visit Purdue Extension Dubois County online for more information to get that phone number. You can visit them on social media, or their office is located at the center on 5th and Jasper, and you can stop in there and get more resources or even pick up your soil testing kit. So thank you so much at home, at work, or wherever you are watching or listening this In.form here on 101 Country WBDC and 18 WJTS. And this has been with Purdue Extension Dubois County.
This has been In.form on WBDC and 18 WJTS. Catch past episodes on our social media pages and our websites. If it matters to you, it matters to us. In.form.